Hello YouTube, D-Decken here, and after 81 duels, I have achieved the Master 1 rank in the Turbo Duel Grand Prix event that is going on Duel Links. And with less than 24 hours left of the event, exactly how did I do it? What competitive deck did I use to acquire the 41 plus wins needed, plus 5 optional duels, in order to achieve this monumental achievement? Well, I used none other than vanilla dragons. Yes, I am not lying. This is the deck I used in the entire Master Rank level, as well as the 2 levels before it. Now, when I first started playing, let me start by explaining this. So, 5Ds, the 5Ds era decks, I don't really have any sort of, I don't have any competitive decks on any of the characters. Like, all the characters have just fun decks. So, I wasn't quite sure what deck to use when starting to play this deck. I have a fun, Submarine Roid, deck that I used with, on one character that I started using at first. And I got, like, a few wins out of that. And then I swapped to this deck, and I just thought this deck was funnier. So, I stick with this deck the entire time. I had a lot of really lucky duels. And surprisingly, I beat Shirwanui, I beat Dark Magician, I beat Blue Eyes. I beat a lot of decks that, in theory, I really shouldn't. 6 Samurai here and there. A lot of decks I really should have not won against. Just using this really stupid deck. So, allow me to explain this deck. Now, the reason I made this deck in the first place was, sometimes there are these events called, raid duels in Duel Links, where there is an Earthbound Immortal that appears, and it has a lot of life points, and the way you can basically beat it is you summon the Signer Dragons, and the Signer Dragons do 5 times damage. So this deck I made for the sole purpose of summoning Red Dragon Archfiend, and that was kind of the gimmick. Like, I had an extra copy of Red Dragon Archfiend. If I can spam 2, that's awesome. But a lot of the time in those events, there's a lot of, they summon monsters in defense mode, so starting off, that is what Strong Wind Dragon is here for. It is the big beefy monster that says when this card is tribute summoned by attributing a dragon-type monster, this card gains half the attack of that monster. Otherwise, this thing does piercing damage. And there were a couple times in the event where I summoned this thing, and I combined it with either a Power of the Guardians, or I attributed it off of my Alexandrite Dragon to just make the thing a 34 beater, and that by itself was able to run over a Blue Eyes. Whenever I, just randomly, it just ran over Blue Eyes. There were times where my opponent just couldn't do anything about it. It was really funny. Next up is Vice Dragon. Vice Dragon is a level 5 monster. Level 5 dragon I get some from my hand. When combined with World Legacy Clash, you banish it, you bring it back, it comes back at 2,000, and it can reduce the attack of opponent's monster by 2,000. Really random combination. Next up is Tricky. Tricky is just a level 5, just a level 5 I can summon. Combine that with a tuner, I can make a quick synchro play. And next, the MVP of this deck, Keeper of the Shrine. Now, Keeper of the Shrine had a lot of different funny combinations in this deck. So this card basically says when a dragon is destroyed, you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. And if the card destroyed was a vanilla, you can nab a vanilla dragon from your graveyard back to your hand. So a lot of the time, I had when my Alexandra Dragon was destroyed, it's a 2,000 attack vanilla dragon. When it destroys, I summon Keeper of the Shrine, and then I get back my Alexandra Dragon. Funny enough, though, is whenever I destroyed a Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is a vanilla, I can trigger the thing, revive it, and then I can get back my own vanilla. So Blue Eyes matchups were always just kind of funny when that happened. But it literally became the MVP card. So what happens in that kind of scenario is you set like an Alexandrite Dragon. Your opponent has like 2 monsters. They use the first one to attack the Alexandrite Dragon. It dies. Keeper of the Shrine triggers. It summons itself. They use the second monster to attack. It dies. Well, when the Keeper of the Shrine activates, it re-adds your Alexandrite Dragon, and then it dies. And then next turn, you then reset Alexandrite Dragon, and you just have a 2-card block the entire time. And the reason why you set it, I'll explain that in a sec, but it's just a really derpy kind of stupid combo that lets you constantly regain back a resource. It worked more than it should have. Next up, Diarrhea. I mean, Dianethinum. This card basically just summons itself as a level 4. I have a prismatic copy, so I use it. I got this off of a special ticket. But the only thing risky... if you get this early game, it can help you make a quick synchro play. Otherwise, if you normal summon it, it's just prismatic points, basically. But you gotta be careful early game, because when you special summon this card, it can... you gotta be careful at late game, because it can special summon a level 4 from the graveyard to opponent's field. But then again, if you have like Strong Wind Dragon, or if you make like a piercing... or you play like a Flambelt Udatrius, you can do some piercing damage. It's fun tricking opponents into doing that. Just summon this card, they summon a monster back. It is a low defense, so you summon one of the two, and then you just pierce them for damage. Sengen. Gotta love Sengen. Sengen actually was in a lot of my opening hands, so a lot of the time I would just set this card, and if my opponent just destroyed it, I would actually just search, I just used it to search Keeper of the Shrines. Like, 9 times out of 10, I would have a dragon on the field that would die. So, getting Keeper of the Shrine in my hand was always beneficial. Otherwise, grabbing one of the other tuners in the deck always helped out. Speaking of the tuners, Guard Dragon Justica? Do not know the exact pronunciation of this card. I don't want to really butcher it, but I am. It's a level 2 dragon vanilla tuner. That's basically what it is. It has a big butt. You set it, your opponent doesn't know it's a big butt. They run it, they take damage. Your turn, you draw, you summon a level 4, you make a synchro play. It's just fun. Or you summon a level 4, you summon a level 5, you just make a synchro play. It's fun. It also works in combination with Silver's Cry. Silver's Cry lets you revive a Dragon-type vanilla from your graveyard. So, you can either revive back your Alexandria Dragon for some 2k damage, or you can revive back the vanilla tuner for some synchro plays. Very simple. Next up, Delta Flyer. Delta Flyer... So, the original idea of Delta Flyer was to play Unexpected Die to revive Alexandria Dragon from your deck. You normal summon Delta Flyer. Delta Flyer increases... Delta Flyer says 1 per turn you can select another monster you control and increase its level by 1. That's a permanent change, by the way, which is pretty nice if you want to play like Beatdown with this deck or something, but... You increase Alexandria to 5, and then you synchro into Red Dragon Archfiend. Again, this deck was made for the Raid Duel... the Raid Duels event, so that was the main idea of it. A lot of the time I used it on like Tricky or Vice Dragon to go into Vermilion Dragon Mech, which saw a lot of play here and there. Like, I think as a joke I summoned Red Dragon Archfiend once or twice, but then it immediately died, so as a joke. And I should probably also mention that my skill, Mark of the Dragon Wings, puts 2 Dark Resonators in the deck. And Dark Resonator is a level 3 Dark Fiend that says 1 per turn it can't die by battle. And it also has 1300 attack. So it's pretty strong by itself when combined with the skill, the turbo skill, but nevertheless, there's a lot of level 3s in the deck, so for the synchros, so from the start of the event to where I ended the event, I only really changed the extra deck one time, and that was taking out the extra copy of Red Dragon Archfiend for a Samurai Destroyer, and I don't regret that decision, because Samurai Destroyer is just... It's a weaker Armades, but it's still technically an Armades. Like, there was a Super Heavy Samurai matchup where they summoned Stealth Ninja, and I don't know why, that they didn't cut Stealth Ninja's defense and attack into half to attack me directly. They just wanted to use Stealth Ninja to destroy the thing. Cool. But when this thing apparently battles, it negates the effect of an opponent's monster. So... realistically, when they attack with Stealth Ninja immediately lost its effect to attack defense mode, so the attack got cancelled. Which, he did that twice. Like, I don't know why. That was one of the bad player Super Heavy Samurais, but nevertheless, I still lost a couple duels against them. Oh gosh. Like, I lost to Super Heavy Samurai. I kept, like, the first time I played Lunalights, they were using a Lunalight Lightswarm deck for some reason. I beat that deck because they couldn't get their cards off, but the second 2 times I played against Lunalights, gosh dang it, they got off Cat Dancer Crimson Fox combo, where Crimson Fox makes a monster have 0 attacks, and then Cat Dancer sacks a monster to attack twice for 24 plus 1 damage, and the plus 1 is effect damage that it inflicts randomly, so Cat Dancer can effectively do... And whenever Cat Dancer attacks, it doesn't destroy the monster the first time, so... Cat Dancer immediately does 5k damage onto one monster with 0 attack. So, that got annoying very fast. Other than that, again, I run Flamvel Uruquaris. It's a 21 piercer. Again, I used it for the event to do piercing damage, but it came up a couple times. And it's usually a level 6 I go into if I need to go into a level 6. Other than that, Red Rising Dragon. This is kind of in here as a joke, but at the exact same time, there are scenarios where this comes up, and it's just funny. So basically, the only way you summon this thing is with Dark Resonator and either Dark Resonator and Sengen, or Dark Resonator revived off Power Reverse plus a Canada. And what that does is, basically when you synchro summon this card using Dark Resonator, it revives Dark Resonator, but you can only summon dragons. Like, if this thing could be, if you could summon this thing and then go into a Vermilion Dragon Mech, it'd be used a lot more. Plus, if it was a lot more generic, it'd be used a lot more, but it doesn't do that, so I can probably see why people don't use it. And speaking of things people don't use, Chaos King Archfiend. I didn't really get a chance to use this card for its, main effect, other than as a joke once, but otherwise, this is just another card I use as kind of a joke. Technically, the Lightsworn Mikkel would probably be a better choice over this card, because Mikkel is more generic, and this card specifically can only be played with Dark Resonator. But I haven't been able to pull Mikkel from a pack yet, so hey, this card's just funny. This card's just a 26 beater, and it's funny. And last up, Black Rose Dragon. There were definitely moments where my opponent had just derp on their field, and I either had Keeper of the Shrines on the field or had a set Dark Resonator, and I just summoned either Keeper of the Shrines or Alexandrite Dragon, and then I just went Black Rose Dragon to nuke the field. And funny enough, Keeper of the Shrines plus Black Rose Dragon is just a funny combination, because Black Rose Dragon nuked the field, and then Keeper of the Shrine sees Black Rose Dragon as a dragon that just died, so hey, I'm gonna come in. So it revives itself, and then you immediately have a 21 defense, and your opponent doesn't have anything. Because that's a play. Like, there was even a play where I put this into attack mode, I boosted power, and I just swung it with it, and as funny of a play that was, that was a play. But there's also one more monster I forgot to mention about this deck, and that is this stupid card, Dragon Ice. Dragon Ice says, whenever an opponent special summons a monster, you discard a card from your hand, and you can special summon this card from your hand or your graveyard. And funny enough, if you have another card in your hand while this card is also in your hand, you could just discard this card itself. You can just discard this card and it revives itself. Now, if it's the only card in your hand, you can't use the effect, because technically you have to be able to discard something else. I don't know why it's ruled like that, but nevertheless, this card came up in a lot of funny scenarios. Like, I don't know why. There was a Blue Eyes player who was using Snipe Hunter, and he had 2 cards in his hand. I don't know why he did this, but he discarded a card to attempt to destroy the only card I had in my field. No blocks or no nothing. Attempt to destroy my Keeper of the Shrines. He failed with a 1, and he then used the level 1 Dragon Tuner to get back a Blue Eyes in his hand, and he's going to be able to do it 2 more times. I had like 900 life points. I was going to lose. I don't know why he did this. He discarded 2 cards. He discarded the Blue Eyes he just re-added to summon Cosmic Brain, to which point triggered my Dragon Ice, and I had 2 defense monsters that Snipe Hunter could not run over. And therefore, I then econ his monster, econ to Cosmic Brain, and summon Alexandrite Dragon, and essentially won the game from there. But Dragon Ice is just a very funny card, a very derpy card. It comes up. You don't always want to play this card, but when it comes up, it's just kind of funny, because it's a random 22 defense monster that just so happens to also be a dragon, which also summons Keeper the Dragon Shrine. So, so let me start by saying that this is not a good deck. This is not a good deck whatsoever. But the fact of the matter is, it randomly won. Like, in combination with cards like World Legacy Clash, Econ, Wall Disruption, with a combination of random good cards and random good moments against people who don't expect this deck to do anything, it just won. And as much as I want to actually praise this deck for doing random plays, to be honest, a lot of it came down to the actual skill, which was Power Force. And the reason I went with Power Force is, well, so from the last Turbo Duel event, anyone who knows the ability to destroy face-up cards is a really stupid effect. It's a really, not stupid, it's really overpowered. And the reason it's overpowered is because removing 10 counters to destroy a face-up monster ignores immunity. It ignores the ability to target monsters. It ignores the ability of avoiding destruction. It just auto-destroys it. Apparently, though, it doesn't avoid, like, conditions. And by that I mean, like, so the reason I have 81 wins was because my 80th duel was against a Karibo Skull Infliction deck that was using Power Force. So whenever I had a big monster by itself to avoid Lava Golem, he just Power Force and get rid of it. And that would trigger Skull Infliction, which dealt me 300 damage. Because that's a thing. But no, that Remove 10 is a very powerful effect. The only downside to it is, instead of the Omni Destroy from the last event, it is a face-up monster. So whenever you're going to get someone who's using Power Force, and they're going to have 10 counters, the best thing you do is just set up a card and have them waste a turn. So then turn around and then just try to win that turn, or have too many things for them to outrun. But other than that, Remove 10 for destroying cards is very powerful. The Remove 8 to have every monster buffed by 1,000 was also very powerful. Like, there were scenarios where I can stick, like, Dark Resonator, Tricky, and, like, Alexandria Dragon, which are 2/2 and 13. And this card turns them into a 3k, 3k, and a 2300. That is a very powerful effect. And, again, combining that with a Strong Wind Dragon, as well as Flammeville Utreus, making them higher piercing attack by monsters, just dealing a lot of damage very fast, out of nowhere. Just, it's very crazy. Also, the Remove 7 to draw a card it's alright. So, a lot of thing I noticed is people didn't really take advantage of speed counter economy, which is a weird way to phrase that, but essentially, after a couple turns, the speed counter will start increasing 3 every turn. So, your opponent will get 3, and then on your turn, you'll get 3. So, after you pass your turn, you'll immediately gain 6 counters, in other words. So, if you have 6 counters, you pass turn, by the time you get back to your turn, it'll go evenly up to 12. It won't go be, like, awkward, to where your opponent will have, in other words, I know what I'm trying to say. So if you have 1 counter, when it goes back to your turn at that point, it'll go to 7, and then you can drop 7, and then you can drop to 7 to draw a card. If you normal summon or normal set, that'll increase your counter by 1. You go back to your turn, you go back to 7, and that's just easily, you get an extra card every turn if you're not focusing on destroying your opponent's monster. If you do want to destroy your opponent's monster, you can either you can let it pass, and you can go up to 12, very easy. If you drop down from 12, you go down to 5. If you want to draw a card, you go down to 5. You normal summon, normal set, you go to 6, and that'll immediately take you 12. If you want to draw a card, make a synchro play, you can, that brings you back up to 7. So, I just like Power Force. Remove 5 can be a bit situational, but it does come up as a means of removing counters if you want to do something for a turn. Like, if you want to push a little extra damage, 5 counters are right, because, again, you're going to go back up to 6 counters, so whatever you currently have, you're just going to gain +1 at the start of your turn, and that doesn't include any sort of, like, normal summon or synchro play you make. And so, keeping that all in mind and just paying attention to what I'm using Power Force on, it was a fun deck. Again, Vanilla Dragons is not a great deck, but, or at least at the very least, the deck I used was not great, but it's a deck I had fun with, and again, there is less than 24 hours at this event, so how far have you gotten? Any crazy decks you've come up against, and any sort of, like, combinations or fun little tricks you've learned, let me know in the comments. I just posted this deck for the fun of it. I posted this video for the fun of it. Jeez, I cannot talk. I'm half tired, I'm half hyper, half excited, but thank you for watching, and hope you have a wonderful night.